Replit is part of the latest coding agents.
I think Replit makes sense for minimally viable products.
I made a successful Chrome plugin.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is September 13th, Friday the 13th, as it turns out, 2024, and you are watching the Daily AI Show live. And don't worry, it's not going to be a spooky, frightening Friday. Oh, we don't know. Maybe actually, hold on. Let's wait for the reviews here. Maybe it will be a frightening Friday. It's also kind of a Aloha Friday. I remembered to put my shirt on, and Jyunmi and Beth are usually holding this down. I remember every time, but I did actually remember today. Andy, no, not so much. But anyway, that's what we have here. We have Jyunmi, Andy, Beth, and I'm Brian, and we are talking about Replit. So this today is all about talking about Replit AI agent. And very quickly here, I'm going to quiet down and listen to the experts because I only know what the team here has really sort of shared its stuff. I haven't personally bought it, but we have plenty of people here who did so and who have worked through it. So I don't know, either probably Jyunmi, Andy, or Beth, whoever wants to take this one. Why don't you give us just sort of a quick overview of how we got here, sort of how it relates to maybe Cursor, because I know a lot of people are really familiar with that, and it was right after that. And then we can dive into the reviews as you guys want to do it. So that's what we got on tap today, guys. Let's go.
Well, let me do the quick intro to the product, and I'll hand it over to Beth and Andy for the in-depth review here. So Replit is part of the latest coding agents, right? So these are platforms and services that help you code or create code for whatever application, right? They've been kind of focused on the web app side of things, but we've seen a lot of news come out about Cursor, even though they've been around for a little while. They entered the new cycle again, and now with Replit. Now, like Cursor, you're going to see things like, hey, help me build out X, Y, and Z, and what's the code? Can you fix this code? All of those features are part of Replit Agent. But the big thing that Replit Agent offers, above all of the rest of them, is I want to make XYZ app. Please make it for me. And it's supposed to start building it, right? It's supposed to have those agentic features that will analyze what your prompt is, break it down into possible steps, and then with the Replit platform, which is one of their key features, part of the agent, is you're able to have the agent build the entire app and deploy it on Replit. So you don't need additional services and things like that. So that's going to be the biggest takeaway, I think, so far, is how different it is from Cursor and other coding agents, is that Replit itself can now, with agents, make the app for you and host it, or at least that is the promise. All right, so I'll throw it over to Andy and Beth to give us the details of how Replit Agent is actually functioning in the real world examples.
Okay, so I'll share my screen and show you that I chose to go with full confidence that Replit could produce a full application based on a pretty, detailed product requirements document for a full-on web application that has, a database for user accounts and also for content and context. It has a connection to OpenAI, and so produces a chat experience, and it also has the sufficient logic to move a user through a succession of sessions, even if they leave the application and come back, and guide them progressively through a series of topics. This is something that is, one of our sort of test platform ideas. And so now let me share my screen, and I'll show you what that looks like in Replit. On here, I'm going to do this whole window here. Okay. So made progress this morning, by the way. So here's the Replit UI. And let me just first show you that on the left-hand side, there are all these files that have been created by the process of developing this application for me. But there are two in here that I uploaded as references to the Replit agent so that it could understand what the application functionality was. And also, I provided it with a sketch in HTML of what I wanted the UI to look like. And so you see that here in Sensei Replit PRD and then guided tutorial dashboard. Now, just a moment ago, as you were watching, you saw that it had finally, after 4 days, successfully presented a login screen, but it didn't have the registration page or the registration link. So I couldn't create a user to log in with. So then over here on the right, you'll see this chat panel, which is where I have been having this ongoing conversation with Replit Agent to try to troubleshoot the problems it's having with developing this login page. Now, the problem that it was creating in there had to do with a repetitive looping redirect that never went anywhere. And so you get this white page, and that gets us to this point. Login doesn't present in the web view. Instead, I get a blank white page. This is what I got. Okay, it says, I understand you're seeing a blank white page. We're investigating this issue and we'll work on fixing it. Thank you for your patience. Okay, now can you please check in the page? This was literally 4 minutes ago when I started here. You can see the login page, but it didn't have a registration. So I said, I see the login page, but there's no register link. And then it said, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I've asked our development team to add the missing register link. And then while I was making an introduction to this and preparing to this, I saw on the white screen that you see now, this sort of white screen of death, I saw the registration link. And I was excited because I was going to be able to show you that, okay, now we're going to register on the application that's been built for me by Replit, and we'll do it again. But here I have to, unfortunately, give it the news that now, once again, I only see the white blank page in web view. Okay, so while they're answering that, look up here at the top. I can look at web view, which is presenting what the application looks like when it's running on their deployment servers, actually a test server at this point. It's not on a production server, but it's not presenting anything. It's going to hopefully come back as it's thinking, but I can also look in the console and see what it's doing. Notice here, once again, that it's going through this loop. Here we are at 05, and it's trying to get the dashboard, and it's just doing it again and again with 302 redirects. See this number 302 over here? And so it's failing. So what I conclude from all of this experience is, one, there's a lot of promise in this. It's starting again, as you can see here, to launch the whole project again. It's restarting the app that does this, but you see it's once again running into the 302 errors. Now, this is very promising because once we get past this one little glitch at the front, and I'm not the only one who's experiencing this glitch, by the way. I saw a video from someone who's actually a very experienced coder who had the very same thing happen to him on a very much simpler application. He's being blocked at the login process for his application by this redirect issue. And in this thread with the agent, repeatedly it refers to, this is an issue that the development team has to look at, and they're working on it. And, we'll fix this as soon as we can. Well, it's taking a while, but I'm undaunted. I believe that eventually I will be able to get past this problem that it's suffering with, because their development team, I think, is seeing this on a number of instances. They'll fix that, and then I expect that I'll be able to work that full application right in this screen.
So for clarity, Andy, it's more of a matter of a platform or back-end issue that you've run into and others have run into, as opposed to difficulty in actually creating the app that you described.
Yeah. I believe, without having reviewed all of these, main.py files and so on, because I'd be looking at a lot of Greek, based on my lack of familiarity with Python. But I am very confident that maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the next day, maybe not next week, but eventually Replit, which I bought the full year subscription to, based on the capabilities that are already demonstrated by other people. I believe that this application that I've defined pretty carefully will run on Replit, and then I could release it to the web, and you could try it too.
Yeah, I remember from our initial run through with Carl. So after one of the episodes, we just, spent an hour working at it, and it was successful. I had proposed an idea of a video capture and repurposing tool, and it created a web app interface. Not exactly what I had asked for, but I was I wasn't very detailed in the app I was asking for, but the fact that it created the entire web app from scratch really impressed me. So Beth, what, if I understand right, you made a successful app, was that correct?
I made a successful Chrome plugin, but I just checked it, and it's totally revealing my API key. So I'm not going to show you that Chrome plugin.
Okay.
I thought when I said save it, it was not going to show it to me again. But nope, every time. Do you still want to, this is your Chrome plugin. It's very pretty. This is your API key. So what I am doing now, and I will share my screen, is doing another Chrome plugin. A Chrome plugin is a kind of nice way to begin, because you are, it's a relatively small, go ahead. It's a relatively small piece of code, right? And this up here, which I'm not going to click on, is the Chrome plugin. Basically, I used one tab to give me a bunch of links of the tabs that I have open, so that I'm not using that all the time. So that's what that Chrome plugin was. Just grab those tabs that are on that web page and make mems out of them, because I use Mem AI as a note taker. So right now, I've asked for a tab snoozer. I would like to snooze the tabs you see my problem. I have way too many tabs, and I'm creating Chrome plugins so that I can fix that not at the source, but at the plugin, I guess. So I want to snooze tab plugin. So I'm going to say, create a Google Chrome plugin that hides a tab for an ask user period of time, essentially a snooze button for a Chrome tab. It doesn't understand the ask user. So I'm going to say, give the user 1 day, 1 week, 15 minutes, or other as choices. Let's see if it can get that. Now what it's going to do is it's going to create a plan. So it's doing a little bit of project management. What are the user requirements that I understand from this? And now it's saying, I've created a plan for your Google Chrome plugin that lets users snooze a tab for 15 minutes, blah, blah, blah. The plugin will hide the tab and make it reappear after the chosen duration. Let me know if you have any other changes. It's also saying we could add a custom snooze time plugin input option. We could implement snooze categories. We could create a dashboard for managing all the snooze tabs. We could add sync functionality. This is a live demo, so I'm just going to go with, build the initial prototype, man. This is excellent. So this is the way that it works. So right now we are seeing it code. right? So it's creating the background JavaScript. That's what that .js means. It created the manifest JSON, which included all the information that it needed, right? The manifest JSON, is just like organizing all the information that it was being asked for. So now we have, again, progress. It's still thinking, and it's going to go back and forth and do this, right? So not seeing something pop, not seeing more code happen in that central window isn't your indication that nothing's happening. This little beep, beep, beep that's happening in the thinking icon right there is your indication that something's happening. And the beep, beep, beep is my own interpretation of that sound. Okay. Chrome extensions cannot be directly run in a command line environment. Please add the extension to Chrome for testing. Yes, I do know that. Cool. It's creating its own icons. The reason that it's doing that is that when you upload a Chrome extension, you need to have your icons as PNGs, right? And you need to do a 16 by 16 pixel, a 48 by 48 pixel, and a 128 by 128 pixel indication.
So the Chrome extensions require that you have icons. I find that amusing.
They totally require that you have icons. Okay.
So are you saying real quick, Beth, that Replit knew that?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yep. And we can see that this prototype took 2 minutes to code. I don't know that did it really give me these image files? Sure. Like, is that an actual? All right. Am I downloading this? I mean, that just seems silly.
It seems like they don't have a graphic processing part of the platform. So
no, they don't.
ASCII code.
And I have a Canva. Let's see. What did I do? Let's stop sharing while I go to Canva and see what's going to come up initially. But I will bring that up. So I'm going to do those three. I'm going to do really basic 3 size PNGs, and then we'll upload it in the dev section of Google Chrome, and you'll see what you said. It was saved in a folder. Oh, Matacheck. Okay, let me look. Thank you. I really like that. But talk amongst yourselves while I do not have and with the magic of television, I've already cooked this and it's ready.
Right, yeah. Go get it out of the oven.
This is live.
No. I think go do that, Beth, so you can focus on doing that, and then we can have more of a sort of open conversation of it. Now, who isn't here is Carl. Carl couldn't make it today, but he had told us in the Slack channel that he had also built 2 different applications, and at least it was my understanding from our Slack channel that they were running and functioning. I can't remember, maybe Jimmy or Andy or Beth, you guys remember better than me what he built and what the reasons were, but I do remember him talking about it and saying they're up and running. So he wasn't running into necessarily. Now it sounded like, Andy, you're, from just my limited experience, it sounds like you had a very specific problem that other people also had, and they're internally working to do that. So
let me show you though something impressive about their LLM. They have an LLM they're not using one of the frontier models. They have their own LLM that's focused on this task. So I'm going to share my screen again to show you the progression of what we're doing here with this. And it's evidencing to me something that is unusual for an LLM, which is, okay, notice here that we're trying different strategies here. Like you see, I still have the white page, so I can't log in and I can't register. But it was able to show the login page previously for a short period of time, but I needed to go through an entire registration process to create a user. But now look at how resourceful it is. Okay, it says, "Oh, I apologize for the ongoing issue." I say, "Look, I'm still getting the 302 redirect. I understand you're still facing the issues. please try to access the login page. And then I say, how can I create a test user without being able to access login and registering a user? And then it says, we're working on creating a test user programmatically to bypass the current login issues. Now, this is the royal we, but it also has repeatedly referred to the development team's activities. So what I gather from that is that this particular LLM is updated continuously with knowledge about this joint process between users like me and the development team on the back end trying to address issues. Because the chat is informing me. I'm not having to go to support. I did, by the way, I put a trouble ticket in for this issue, and I haven't gotten an answer back through the trouble ticket thing. But I'm pretty pleased with what they're doing here. And look, it's at the bottom of this, it's now created a test user for me. So now, if I could just get it to show this by, again, we're running into this 302 error. If they can fix that, I don't even have to go through the registration process to start using the application because it's already created and added to the database a test user for me to work with. Now, come on, this is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's almost like a constantly updated RAG or something like that. That if it's actually able to pull that information in, it's almost like when you call for a power outage and you're like, oh, where are you? Or maybe they already know from where you're calling your phone, and it's like, hey, we already have reported power outages in your area. Like, oh, cool, you just saved me a whole lot of time because now I don't have to go through the rigmarole of reporting it. They're like, yep, other people already reported it. It's not just your house. It's in the whole area. We're expecting an update by so-and-so. You're like, yeah, sweet. That's all I needed was just an automated response. I don't need to talk to a human. Didn't want to anyway. Just wanted my power back on. So I like this idea of it like sharing that like trouble ticket almost type information of, hey, Andy, we're aware of this, and this is a bigger problem than just you're seeing, which immediately, as I always say, takes you from being on an island to being part of a tribe. And that could be really, really helpful as a user experience to just feeling like, oh, okay, cool. This is not a me problem. This is a more of a global problem, and it's something everybody's actively working on, which means you'll probably get a result faster anyway, because it's a bigger issue than just a one-off type thing on there. Now, I know it's been way too early to even know if this is possible, but O1 came out yesterday, aka Strawberry. That was a big release yesterday, and immediately we had a lot of people were putting out posts. There were people like Ethan Malik and others who could not say they did, but they've had access to the O1 model this is the reasoning model, by the way, from OpenAI. You can go read about that, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more in another show. But the reason for bringing it up now is what?
We're going to do it next week.
Oh, great. What I was going to say is they were showing their use case for it. But one use case that I did see was somebody talking about using it in conjunction with Cursor. So I wonder, Andy, it seems like it would be a lift because everything I've read about O1 is the better you are, go figure, right? The better you are and the more detailed you are, your prompting, the better reasoning results you can get out of it. And considering you get 30 of these a month, at least that's what I read, you can use O1 30 times a month, not a week, not a day, a month. That you have to be strategic about the questions you're asking. But it's supposed to be very good at coding. And the person who was talking about Cursor said it was a 1-2 punch. So I'm curious with this 302 error or whatever, Andy, if you were almost able to create a problem for O1, say, this is what I'm running into, this is what the code is. And I'd be curious to see if now the new O1 reasoning model for OpenAI could in fact solve this. I don't know how that would change things for Replit because I don't know that you're able to go in. Maybe this might be my ignorance. I don't know if you're able to go in and manually. No, Beth's saying no, you can't go manually change the code. But I'd be curious.
Because Replit's okay. Replit's API is like made to be a coder. What you would really do with that is you would make Cursor use O1, but O1 is only available to the tier 5 developers, which means you spend $1,000 a month. And so that knocks out a bunch of people.
Yeah, so maybe not a solution right now. And I get what you're saying, Beth. You're right. In Cursor, they're using O1 directly versus what Replit is doing. So that does make sense to me. But anyway, just something curious I was thinking about because it's very early, right? We're less than 24 hours from the release of O1. That's why we'll talk about it more next week. But it obviously has some huge implications in coding. So it'd be curious to see how it impacts the kind of things you're trying to do and so on and so forth.
Well, I was just going to say, Brian, you brought up limitations. And so one of the stories out there is that Replit has a limitation of what your usage is. Andy or Beth, in either of your processes or app building, I guess, did you run into any limitation where Replit said, "Oh, sorry, no, you've run into your usage for the month" or anything like that?
Personally, no, but have seen tons of people who have. And in fact, from the usage limits that they set initially, they expanded them 5 times. Like now you have 5x more usage allowed than you did before. That hardcore coders who just are ready to do this are still running into those limits. The ideal market for this, like we were talking about it because, wow, everybody can build something now. But the real ideal market for this, and Andy's a little bit of this too, just a heads up, is somebody who had their whole plan out, right? Like they know exactly what they want, and now they can just go and build it, right? Maybe they worked with devs to develop it like 5 years ago, and it wasn't quite ready there, or that kind of stuff. But what those people have is a complete vision to be able to give Replit. Like, this is what I want. This is how it functions. Yes. I think actually what a lot of people are running into in that space is, oh, but I have a complete plan that I would give to a dev, right? What you're looking at with Replit, the ideal here is to go like bare bones MVP, right? And then you're kind of ready to be able to do that kind of stuff. All right.
So let me, before you go on to that demo, I just want to comment on the idea that you put forward, Brian, which is to use multiple tools in concert, where Replit is the final engineering team that's going to actually do not only database architecture, not only, application code, but also mount an application server and deploy it and manage operations for you. It's a full-on suite of those tools. But there are a lot of other, preliminary processes. And in this particular case, I used Cursor to help in the refinement of the PRD. And Cursor is very confident and capable. I'm not skillful enough to use Cursor to generate code and then plant that code into an operational environment. That's just beyond me. So that's why Replit is so powerful for me. I can actually get somewhere with Replit, but I'm using Cursor at the same time because I want to get the value of these probably very distinct capabilities. As I mentioned, Replit has its own LLM that's operating this agent. Cursor has its own, right? And it may also be, relying on 4.0. So maybe now it's 0.1 being used behind the scenes in Cursor. So it really requires you understanding which of these services does what. And if they do something slightly different, then see if you can gang them together in a way that actually, moves the needle forward. This is the mixture of experts model for operational development of applications.
And really, like you said, it is the future of what we'll ultimately see. Whether those models all exist within Replit, whether Cursor is in future iterations capable of pulling from multiple models at once, whether O1 or O1 MIDI to solve certain different problems, or other models like Claude. I think that's obviously what we're expecting for the future. So this seems to me, I'm looking, Beth just shared the screen of 10 use cases, and maybe Beth, do you still need another minute?
Yeah, go ahead and show those, and then
let me do that first, and then we'll just look at some of these quick examples, and then we'll pop back over to Beth, and she can kind of show us what she's got going on. Like we said, she's building this live, so we can only go as fast as Replit will let us show you guys this stuff. But that's kind of the fun of this, right? Okay, hold on 1 second here. So Beth had just shared this in the in our private chat on the back end, and this is from Min Choi on X, and 10 wild examples of what people are building with Replit. So let's just look at a few of these here. Nearby Deals was a failed startup of mine, spent 18 months trying to find PMF, don't know what that means, and ran out of time and money. I just rebuilt it with Replit in under 10 minutes. I'm not sure what PMF is. You guys know what that means?
No,
I don't know. Okay, we'll move on. This one, I used Replit Agent to build a multi-LLM playground app in just 2 minutes on my iPhone. I built this Python and JS app, but just using English prompts, no code on that one. This one's in another language. This one, I built stock crypto trader in 10 minutes. I'm not surprised to see that. Probably not the biggest lift of things. Usually a lot of people will go towards stocks and tickers and stuff like that, but maybe very cool. My mind is blown. I built a Trello clone in 45 minutes. If Carl was here, he would definitely be talking about that because he's been talking about, will businesses still need SaaS solutions if you can just build it yourself and build it in-house and make it personalized to you? I still say yes, by the way, to that, because I think then you also have to be your own problem-solving team, and there goes a lot with that. But for a little small task, yeah, absolutely.
What I found interesting is those first few examples were all on mobile. That's so part of the so all the or I should say the intro video that Replit shows for agents, they talk about having access via mobile and developing via mobile.
Yeah.
But I think the key thing that I took away from that was that you could at least start developing any idea that pops into your head.
Mm-hmm.
You never have to write it down and put it away for later to take the time to really break it out. Any idea that pops in, just start developing. So I think that's a great opportunity for anyone who just has an idea and just never been able to take it to that next step because it used to require so much pre-development before you even got it to the coding stage.
Yeah, no, I think it's a solid point. I was just looking through the last couple of days to see if any of them jump up. Something for Airtable. There was another one about semiconductors and built a world map for it. Built a language model output comparison in 30 minutes. And the last one here is created a journaling app. So just different examples of what people have been using Replit to do. And obviously we're assuming these are all functioning things. They didn't crash or whatever. I think there's a lot to be said for, whether these are, I think Replit makes sense for minimally viable products, kind of like you were just kind of saying, Jyunmi. You don't have to have it all figured out. You could certainly take this and take something that basically functions, but you wouldn't deploy to the world and say, go to true coders, people who can actually build and do app dev and say, this is basically what I'm looking for, but I'm fully aware that the code is not the kind of code that we would grow upon and deploy. There's probably many, many other things that need to be considered here. But hey, here's a great starting point. Maybe it's more complicated, it's more advanced than that. But I think even at that level, Jyunmi, you have a really good point about it being just a great place to start ideas. And God knows I always have a lot of ideas, sometimes with a pint in my hand, but I have a lot of ideas. And maybe a pint plus Replit in my phone is either the best or dumbest idea I've ever had. So.
All right, here we go. So we are going to, no, I'm not sharing right now. All right. So what I have done is I've downloaded the files, which you have to do in order to upload something to Google Chrome. And I have gone to Chrome // extensions, which lets you get to that load unpacked, right, all the way up in the top left. And that's what I've selected. And it's saying select your directory, your folder. So I'm going to select that. And I'm in developer mode, which is why that needs to be there. And here's tab Snoozer. Now that has been loaded. Let's see if it works. And this is literally how you do this stuff. So I'm going to go here. Where is tab Snoozer? This is why it needs the little 16 by 16, because that's what those are. I'm going to pin it. So now that's what that is. And let's see if it will snooze my tab. Snooze for 15 minutes. It's gone. We'll let you know if it comes back. Sign up for our newsletter because we'll reveal if we close the show before 15 minutes, which we totally should because it's 35 minutes in. But that's okay. So that took.
Did it disappear? Like close the tab, or did it go somewhere? Or do we not know?
We don't know. We hope it went so. I am testing it live on air, which is why I'm saying definitely subscribe to the newsletter.
Try snoozing another tab, but Mark, let's visualize what tab it is, because sometimes Chrome knows how to snooze the tab that's not being used by itself. But I like the idea of your application where I can choose to snooze something as immediately as I finish using it.
Let's do it for 1 minute, which makes so much more sense. All right.
We can definitely pontificate and talk for 1 minute.
There we go.
I'll catch you up while we're waiting for that minute to see whether it really went away. So now, same problem. We're just like in a conversational loop, me and the agent, but it said something a little different. It's giving me more information about what the development team is doing, which is, maybe a hallucination. I don't know.
I think it's a hallucination, but yes. Keep going.
So but at least it knows what the development team should be doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it said now, we're continuing to investigate the redirect loop issue. Our development team is working on implementing more detailed logging and checking critical areas of the authentication process. We'll update you as soon as we have more information. So that's the first time it's told me that it's on the right track. This is all about authentication and a redirect in the authentication process.
So this just came back.
Wow.
Success. And
So
now they think that person's face expression is perfect for this. Like, it totally snoozed. It came back.
I kind of feel like it's like, where did I go? I was just gone. Now I'm back.
Have you touched an AI port key today? You might look like this.
This guy's like, I saw things. I don't know where I was. It was dark, but it was light, but it's
okay.
now I'm back.
The longest part of that was my confusion about whether it created the icon files, right? Which it said it did. I downloaded, thank you to the commenter who said it, but it's not pulling up as the icon, which is fine. I don't care. But that was a 2-minute code, right? That was a 2-minute conversation and code, and then 45-second deploy, and now working Google Chrome extension. So if you have something that you would like to get done that's driving you batshit, this is a viable option. That I'm not deploying this anywhere. Like, I haven't sent this anywhere. This is all just my data, which again is why I apparently didn't bother to hide the API key for the other extension that I used. But
Jen in the comments has a good idea. Let's share that one.
Choose to snooze.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm writing comments and responding to comments. Hold on a second. This one?
Yes. Choose to Snooze, a new app from the Daily AI Show, which auto mutes all your work tabs for 15 minutes so you can nap without worrying about your devices waking you up.
That is a great idea, Jen, but we should take it one step further. We should make it a Chrome plugin for the Daily AI Show, so that at 6:45 in the morning on East Coast, that tab will unsnooze and get you ready to watch the show each morning.
But West Coast. Yeah. East Coast would be we're 10 a.m.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, you guys are West
Add
Coast.
that to your requirements. It has to be sensitive to your time zone.
So
Let's make sure that gets built in there really, really quick. Hey, I do want to mention, because they're joking with us in the comments, which I love this from Jen. Not the newsletter bait. Yes, the newsletter bait. So I went ahead and added another comment in there. I was like, hey, you know what? If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, it couldn't be easier. Go to thedailyishow.com and you can sign up. It's free. It goes out one time per week on Sunday mornings. Easy. So yes, we do try our best to add in. Now, we just talked about one we're going to do yesterday for the newsletter, where we're going to put in I still think one of the coolest things I've heard is the audio that came out of Google's Notebook LM yesterday. Go back and watch that show if you didn't watch it, because that was very cool. And so we're going to add those in for the individual shows this week. We'll put that in the newsletter. And now also, I guess we don't have to come back in 15 minutes. We solved that part of it. But maybe Beth will have something else, and we will add that into the newsletter as well. So I like this idea, guys. I like this idea of like creating personal solutions. I mean, there's just so many things I know in the sales world from what I deal with, but just generally speaking, like you were saying, Beth, like, hey, this is something that is generally annoying to me. And in the past, I would have never attempted. I wouldn't even have bothered. I'd be like, whatever, it doesn't exist. Somebody should definitely do that. And that's about where that would have ended. And now the idea that you could perhaps build something to solve your individual problems, knowing that it really isn't going to go any farther than that. Now, if you want to deploy it to the world, good on you. But I don't think, it necessarily needs to be that. We're not talking about full deployments. Or like Jyunmi brought up, you could certainly take the approach of, you have an idea, run through an idea, see how far you get with it, because it doesn't particularly take long. I mean, within an hour, you're probably looking at something that's useful to you, unless you run into errors like Andy. But then you have something that you can then show other people. I mean, guys, this is like going into any office and saying, hey, I had a thought last night. But instead of it just ending with, I had a thought for something that would be helpful, I went ahead and took the extra hour. I ran it through, and this is kind of what it would look like. What do you guys think? Now there's a visual, a usable visual that you can show other people and say, like, what do you think about this? I think it's so powerful, super, super powerful.
Not just as a functioning app. Like here, use it over the next few days and send me bug reports.
So this show is obviously for business professionals and businesses, typically small businesses or SMEs or medium businesses. So if you are looking at this and saying, wow, like there's so much I could do with this, we would love to have a conversation with you. Maybe you want to work with us, but really, I want to know what you're thinking. Let us know, because this, for me, seems to be a groundbreaking, like this specific piece, just being able to make Chrome extensions that make your life better. Like that's a bumper sticker. I think that could alone increase people's productivity. So if you're watching this, thinking about it, reach out to us, comment. I'd really love to hear what you're thinking, and I know everybody else would too.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk real quick about what we have coming up next week. Did you have one more thing, Jyunmi?
Well, I was just gonna address chat and say we are so glad that you join us each day, and that you have the opportunity to squeeze all the knowledge out of each episode.
And if you want to know what that means, you got to go back to the chat and go find out. That's an inside joke just for the chat. Come hang out. We have like the best people on our chat. Hey, this is what we have possibly coming up next week. We're going to solidify all this probably today, but we're thinking like maybe Monday, thinking out loud how multimodal models enhance creativity. Tuesday, we definitely want to dive into O1, Strawberry, whatever you want to call it, the new advanced reasoning models. In fact, there's two of them. There's an O1 and an O1 mini, and they do different things. So one is giving you steps, one is more breaking it down and showing you the reasoning behind it. So we'll talk all about that on Tuesday. Wednesday, of course, would be the news, and there's just going to be a ton to talk about on the news. Thursday, one of my favorite producers, Timberland, and AI, but stuff that he sort of talked about on one of his, I think it was a X or it was a Twitter, or TikTok or whatever. But just sort of the realization, Timberland, of all his expertise and knowledge as being a world-renowned music producer, what he realized he could start doing with some of this AI in music and sound and stuff like that. So we want to sort of talk about that because, that's another level order of usage, right? And sort of watching his mind kind of explode was kind of fun on that video. And then Friday would be our bi-weekly recap video. So, every other week, if you've been with us long enough, on one Friday, we typically will try to do a good review like we did today and give you our honest feedback of Replit. Honestly, if we had hated it, we would have told you we hated it. And then on the other opposite Friday, we take time to just sort of pause and look back at our last 9 shows, essentially. So 2 weeks worth of shows, and go through all of them and reintroduce topics. There's always new stuff that comes up on them, things that we missed, things that we just didn't simply have time to go to. So like I mentioned, I already talked about before, you can go to dailyaishow.com. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. If you do it before, I usually say Saturday night, that means you're going to get Sunday morning's next newsletter. And I've already been working on it, and it's a good one. So make sure you sign up for that and get on that list. It's the easiest way to get additional content above and beyond this show. So that's it for this week. Thanks for everybody for hanging out. It's been another great week of AI conversations, and I really look forward to doing this again with everybody next week. So until then, guys, have a great one.
Oh.